So your eyeball is up against the door, and he points a gun at you in this way. Is that a threat to you, to your person? Sure. So I would argue that if you saw that and you just fired your own gun through the door with a reasonable expectation of neutralizing this threat, that would be a lawful use of force, deadly defensive force, firing through a door. You're not firing blind. You have information about what's happening on the other side of that door that allows you to make reasoned decisions in self-defense. What about this guy in the background? Sorry. Here, this bad guy close up, right? Pretty close to being in front of the door at some of these points, like there. What about the guy in the background? He's also pointing a gun. Could you engage him with fire? Well, then the question would be, well, are you still confident that your rounds would hit that guy after they pass through a door? I mean, when a bullet goes through an obstacle, its path afterwards can be pretty unpredictable. Now, if the target's immediately on the other side of that barrier, pistol round, if it goes through the barrier, it's probably going to plow through, won't deflect too much. I would not have a great degree of confidence that even if I aligned the gun properly, if I fired it through a door, that I'd hit that guy back there. Maybe you could make the argument, but it would be open to contestation. In which case, if you're firing at this kind of point, I would argue it's simply a straight up self-defense scenario. It's got nothing to do with the car, your decision to use deadly defensive force. You look at the little peephole and there's a gun pointed at you. So you drew your own gun and you used deadly defensive force to neutralize that imminent threat of unlawful deadly force against you. What about before the muzzle's pointed at you? What about all this stuff, the waving of the gun? If you asked this thief, he'd probably say, well, I'm just trying to intimidate that person. I don't really mean to shoot him. Does that matter? What if this wasn't a car theft? What if this was a straight up armed robbery at a street corner? And he walked up and waved this gun in your face and said, give me your wallet. Would that not be an imminent threat of unlawful deadly force? Would you not be privileged to use deadly defensive force to defend yourself against that armed robbery? I would say yes. That's a very sound argument for the legal use of deadly defensive force in self-defense. What about now? You come up to the door now, you peep through the little peephole. Oh, you're open your door. You're standing in the doorway. And the car's backing out here, being just about to drive away. Can you use deadly defensive force now? Well, in Texas, you could to prevent the theft of the vehicle, but absent, that's a pure up defense of personal property, deadly force in defense of personal property under Texas law. But absent Texas, you need a threat to persons narrative. You need these 5 elements: innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. Now, I can't see here. Are the bad guys? I don't know what that flickering is. Back there. I noticed at least the bad guy near the door also had a weapons-mounted light on the Glock. If that light is pointed at the homeowner, the Glock is pointed at the homeowner. But what the homeowner would need to do here to justify firing shots at this car, really at the people in the car, would be able to articulate that he was still facing an imminent threat of unlawful deadly force against himself. So it's a defense of person scenario. Maybe he can do that. Maybe it's visible here. I can't see it definitively, that they're still pointing a gun at him. If they're still pointing a gun at him, they're still an imminent deadly force threat. But the point is, he would be defending himself, not defending his car. And by the way, when he's questioned by police, which he should not be answering substantively to without counsel present, but if he were to give an explanation to police, his explanation should definitely not be, I didn't want them to steal my car. That's why I shot them. His explanation should be, I was facing an imminent threat of unlawful deadly force harm to my person, and I shot to protect me, not to protect my car.